Hope you enjoy the story of the Samaritan woman at the well. I live in the little town of Sychar, and it's a pretty town. It's quiet. I'm a Samaritan, if you can't tell from my dress, and there was a day in my life where everything changed. The world that I knew just disappeared, and everything became new. So that morning I'd woken up as usual in my small room, and I can remember standing at the window looking out over the town streets, and I could see all the other women going up to the well to get water, because it's cool then, it's not so hot to walk. And their shawls were fluttering like birds in the breeze, and there was chatter and laughter and friendship as they took their heavy jugs and made the just under a kilometer's walk up to Jacob's well. And it hurt, because I'm not welcome to walk with them. If I went down, they would not speak to me and they would shun me. So I sit. And I remember turning and looking behind me at the man asleep on the bed. And he stirred, he had his hand over his eyes, and he looked at me and smiled. And even that hurt. He gave me a gentle kiss on the cheek, and he walked out with a promise to be back in time for food. And when the door closed behind him, it felt like all the doors of my life that had closed behind men who'd left. And nothing takes that rejection and pain away, but to dwell on it is pointless. So I carried on. I tidied the small place that I called home. I don't have much. So it was just fix the shawl, put out some bowls for food. And I looked at our jug of pretty tepid water. I said, I'll do that later when it's not busy. And I picked up my shawl and I went down, because while the women are gone, I can go to the markets. And I kept to the side of the road. I try and make myself small so you won't see me, because I know I'm an outcast. I know I'm not the person you want to talk to. And I pulled my shawl over my face and walked quietly, hugging the walls of the buildings down to the market where it was quiet. And I looked, and there's stalls set up for everything. I was just there to buy fruit because that's all I can afford. I have bread still that I made yesterday. But if I look over there, there's beautiful new cloths that have come in from Jerusalem, and there's jewelry at that stall. But I don't have coin to buy that kind of thing. And they'll tolerate me at the stalls if I'm paying, but not for looking. So I take my little bit of fruit and I go back home and take off my shawl. And I'd set out this very simple meal when my man came back. And together we ate, and then I washed up, and he left again. And you know, I'm grateful for him. Please don't get me wrong, he's kind to me, kinder than many have been. But he can't marry me. I'm an outcast, I'm used, I'm barren. His family would never allow it. So I'm grateful he pays for this place and he gives me coins for food. I'm grateful. Please don't get me wrong. And now the sun is high, and I decided it's a safe time to go to the well because nobody else will be there. Nobody else is stupid enough to walk in the heat of the day. So I picked up my big jug and I put it on my hip for the journey. And it's so hot you can feel the heat through your sandals. And the sun's baking on your head, and I could feel sweat running down my face and down between my shoulder blades under my tunic. But it was quiet and I was alone. And I'd stop now and again to rest under the shade of a little shrubby bush and keep going. But at least I'm alone. And you know that thing digs into your hip after a while. It's not comfortable. And as I shifted weight, I looked up to Jacob's well where I was heading. And I saw there's a man there. And he's not from our town. I can see from his clothes he's a Jewish man. And you know, I'm reviled and rejected for many things. But it's not my fault I'm a Samaritan. I did not choose this. And I thought, should I go back home? I'll come later. But later, the older woman would be going. So I decided I would just go. I would just not talk to him and keep going. And so I kept walking. And when I got there, I didn't even look at him. I just tied the rope to my jug and I started to lower it down. And I waited till I heard it hit the water and the rope went slack. And then I waited for the jug to fill. And it's heavy coming back up. And as I pull that rope to get it back up, you can feel the burn in your arms and between your shoulders. It was almost at the top. And this man said to me, "Can you draw some water and give me a cup to drink?" And I pulled the jug over and I rested it on the wall. And I didn't even look at him. I just said, "I can't believe you, a Jewish man, would ask me, a Samaritan, for a drink." Because if you don't know, according to the Jews, we are impure. They can't drink from our vessels. The Samaritans stayed behind during the Babylonian exile. So yes, we did intermarry. And we do believe slightly differently, and for that, we are considered less than. Like, we only read the books of Moses. We don't read the other prophets. It's small things. So I was a little bit stunned that he would speak to me. And he said to me these words. He said, "If you just knew the gift of God, and if you knew who this was standing before you, you would ask for living water, water that will last for all eternity. You would never thirst again." And I said to him, "Living water?" And he said, "Yes, living water, and you would not have to make this trip to Jacob's well." And I said to him, "So are you claiming you more important and better than Jacob, our ancestor, who dug this well and maintained it so that his sons and grandchildren and cattle could drink from here?" And he said, "I can give you living water for all eternity." And I didn't quite comprehend what he meant, but didn't that sound good? Not to carry that heavy jug every day, to come and get enough for just today, to hurt my shoulders and back filling it. And the journey back, you all know how heavy that thing is to carry. And you can't afford to spill a drop because it's all you have. So I said to him, "Please, can you give me this living water?" Thinking he's spoken to me, he doesn't mind a Samaritan. And then he said words that were like a punch to my stomach. He said, "Go and fetch your husband." Years of shame and rejection and hurt made my face go red and my hands go cold. And I just said to him, "I don't have a husband." And I dropped my gaze so he wouldn't see the shame on my face. And very casually, no judgment in his voice, he said to me, "What you say is technically true. You don't have a husband now, but you've had 5 husbands. And the man you're living with, not married to him." How did he know? Me being here in the middle of the day is a good idea that I'm an outcast, but how did he know? How did he know about the years of rejection and hurt and betrayal that I've suffered? And he knows my shame. So I tried to deflect by asking a question. I could see here, obviously he's a rabbi, he's a man who knows God. And I said to him, "So can I ask you this? Our tribe believes that we worship here on this mountain. But you Jewish people, you say we can only worship in Jerusalem. So which one is it?" And he knew I was deflecting. He just looked at me and he said, "The truth of the matter is this, neither is correct." He said, "For you worship what you don't know. We worship what we do know, and salvation of the world will come through the Jews. But the Father is Spirit, and He looks for heartfelt worship. And if you do not worship seeking the Father, you don't worship at all." I didn't really understand. So I said to him, "I know when the Messiah comes, when the chosen one comes, these things will be made real and we'll understand." And then he said those words. He said, "He's standing right in front of you." And something deep within my soul unfurled. I knew it was true. This was God's chosen. The Messiah who knew about me more than he could have ever just guessed. Who spoke with such authority. as he said that, I was trying to process what he said, my hand's still on the jar, and his friends came back. Later I learned they were his disciples. And some of them looked at me with indifference, others with a little bit of an offensive look. And I didn't care. I've just met the chosen one. And I took my hands off that jug, for suddenly that water from Jacob's well wasn't what I needed. He promised me living water, water of acceptance and love, to be beloved and part of God's plan. I had to tell somebody. So I went back quickly. Suddenly my sandals didn't hurt, and I just went back and I went to the marketplace and I started to tell people. And instead of them spitting on me and walking away, I think they saw something in my face. I told them, I've met this man. He knew all about me. And he promises us living water. And do you think he's the chosen one? I think I've met the Messiah. And a crowd started to gather. And I thought, I need to. There's so much I need to ask him. There's so much more I want to understand about him. And the crowd followed me back to Jacob's well. And Rabbi Jesus was still standing there. And he turned and he started to speak. And words of authority and wisdom flowed from him. And he said so much that the townspeople said to him, please, can you stay another few days? Do you know Jesus stayed in Sychar for 2 whole days, sharing the kingdom of God with us Samaritans? He showed us that God's love comes through the Jewish people, but it's there for everyone. And now I know that the chosen one didn't see my race. He didn't see my gender. He didn't focus on my shame, my abandonment, my poor choices. He focused on me. And he saw me as a child of God, someone with a purpose, someone worthy of the living water offered by the Messiah. And that means that this woman was the first evangelist. She's the first person to go and spread kingdom news to her own town, and her whole town was saved. And that's the story of the Samaritan.